Today's rant comes to us from a confirmation hearing for archivists. And what people who don't pay a lot of attention to politics need to know is that whenever you hear this term confirmation hearings, envision these as job interviews. But this is how some of these high level positions in government are given to people. These are the job interviews that we can all witness. So let's roll into it.
I, in particular, asked you to give us a full accounting of the public posts that you had made on Twitter. You had locked your Twitter account before you came before this committee. It had previously been public. I asked you to provide the public posts that had previously been available on Twitter because the ones that we have were pretty disturbing. You responded as follows, and I quote, "My personal Twitter account is comprised of posts about my mystery novels, events at the White House Historical Association, Pittsburgh sports teams, travels, and my dog," end quote. Is this an accurate statement?
Yes, Senator.
I just remind you, you're under oath. Is this an accurate statement?
Yes, Senator.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your Twitter posts then that I was asking you about. On February 18th, 2022, you posted on Twitter bemoaning the dropping of mask requirements for children, including those under the age of 5. Do you remember that post?
No, Senator. Those tweets were in my personal capacity.
Now listen, she's entitled to have her views. She can say whatever she wants, and she can say whatever she wants on Twitter. But what she cannot do is lie to this committee. And to say to this committee that her post consisted of this, when we know from Senator Portman's research that's not true, is simply false. No. I asked you, would you give all public posts that you had made on Twitter? You said no, effectively, and you said that your Twitter posts consisted of mystery novels, events at the White House Historical Association, Pittsburgh sports teams, travels, and my dog. And you just told me now under oath that you stood by that. So now let's talk about your Twitter posts. On February 18th, 2022, you posted bemoaning the fact that mask requirements for children under the age of 5, one of whom I happen to have, by the way, had been dropped. Is that a post about your dog or sports teams?
My social media is in my personal capacity,
Answer
Senator.
my question, please, because you've testified under oath that you only posted about your dog and sports teams and novels, and you also said you wouldn't give this committee any of your public posts. So, is your post on February 18th, 2022, bemoaning the lifting of mask requirements for children under the age of 5, who I might just ask all of the data has said is extremely harmful to children, these mask requirements? We'll leave that aside for now. Is that a post about your dog or sports teams? Yes or no?
My social media is in my personal capacity, Senator.
Yes or no, Ms. Shogan? You are under oath before this committee, and I have to say, you have placed this issue squarely in record by repeatedly refusing to answer. Yes or no?
My social media is in my personal capacity, Senator.
So on one breath, you're telling me like, well, social media, does it really represent much? And then on the other hand, you've got people saying that like Russian interference in different social media platforms was so important. It might have been the tipping point for the election in 2016. So, I mean, it seems like it probably matters.
You know, I had said before the confirmation hearing is like a job interview. And what we're seeing here is a person who is applying to be one of the highest level record keepers in our country. And we're seeing that she doesn't necessarily believe in keeping records, which is extremely dangerous considering the job she's applying for and this job interview that she's here for is for one of the high level records keepers. To not want to keep records makes us wonder whether you'll do a good job when you have the job of records keeper.
But maybe you remember this one. This is from December 3rd of 2021, in which you advise an individual who goes by Meg on social media that the Library of Congress, you advise this person to complain about religious flags that have been planted on the grounds of the Library of Congress, and you say that they ought to be removed. And you go on to give this person advice about how to complain and have them removed. Do you remember that post?
My social media is in my personal capacity.
Do you remember the post?
My social media is in my personal capacity, Senator.
Are you a lawyer, Ms. Shogan?
No, Senator.
Are you familiar with the Shurtleff case at the United States Supreme Court?
No, Senator, I'm not.
Well, in that case, the Supreme Court held that, in fact, it constitutes viewpoint discrimination for a government entity to remove religious flags from its property when it's opened up the property to allow other people to put flags on it. Exactly the question that you were addressing in your public posts on Twitter. You're giving legal advice, which you're not qualified to give, directly contrary to the United States Supreme Court. I just wonder, does this have to do with your view that you wrote about that the religious right is connected to the rise of anti-intellectualism in American politics? Is that why you said what you said about religious flags, that the religious right is a force for anti-intellectualism? Explain that to me.
No, Senator.
The rise of the religious right is part of the rise of anti-intellectualism in American politics. I just point out that's the article in which you say anti-intellectual. The title is Anti-Intellectualism in the Modern Presidency, Republican Populism. Very nonpartisan.
As I had said before, a confirmation hearing is a job interview. And between the last confirmation hearing and this one, they have established that this person is a liar. And it's provable. And her job that she's applying for is the Archivist of the United States, someone to keep the truth of America, to keep the truth of the United States. And we've now proven that this person applying for the job of archivist, and this being a job interview, we've now proven through an interview that she's not qualified and she's a liar. So if she continues to get confirmed, then we can pretty much guarantee that in the future, when we look to our past, all the records might not be there. Because this person doesn't believe in keeping records, but she's applying to be a records keeper.
Eventually, he concluded that the root of the problem was not malice, but stupidity.
And we've established that she doesn't believe in records or the truth, but that the truth is from her perspective. So now the historical record of America could be skewed into her perspective. If you enjoyed this rant, check out one of these other 2 rants. Thanks for hitting that like and subscribe button. Thanks to all my subscribers. Thanks to all my new subscribers. Thanks for watching. Later.